Nas, this is something that I wholeheartedly agree with, and thankful that Nas actually said this because hopefully this motivates OG artists to drop more music. We need that 100%. And Nas has been a good lead by example person when it comes to this. He's dropped 4 projects within like 2 years. So let's go over the article and what am I talking about here? Let's see what's going on. So Nas did a cover story with Billboard for hip hop's 50-year anniversary. And, he took some photos, did an interview, and Nas basically invited artists of his generation or OGs to start dropping more music. And this is what he said. Let's play the clip.
I want more people to join me from my era. I want them to join it, releasing records, working hard on them shits. I want to hear how people feel. I want to hear their art. I don't want to hear the trends. I want to hear the art. Express it. Do it. Be free.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with Nas. I think a lot of OG artists are scared to release music because, one, they feel like maybe the reception wouldn't be there. Maybe people wouldn't care. But at the end of the day, man, I think a lot of these OG artists have an OG fan base that would appreciate it, regardless if they do insane numbers like newer artists. Like Nas isn't doing crazy numbers on his albums, but it's still impacting. And I think that's important and very inspirational. Like Nas is saying, be free, express art, don't follow trends. I want to hear more from my generation, more of the OGs. So what that prompted me to do, hearing that from Nas, is actually go over the list of artists and when was the last time they actually released an album. I was curious. When Nas said that, I wanted to go over some artists and, kind of ask the question, when was the last time they dropped an album? And my list is starting from the 90s because Nas obviously dropped in 1994. So we're going to start in the 90s, 1990, all the way up until 2005. To me, I consider that OG. Obviously, the 80s is OG as well, but, we're going to go from the 90s since Nas is from that era. So 90s all the way up into 2005. And we're going to consider only solo albums of the artist. No collab albums, no, soundtracks, none of that, no mixtapes, just solo albums from these artists. So I decided to write down a list of a few and talk about when the last time they dropped the project. So starting out with Dr. Dre, he dropped Compton. It's technically a soundtrack to the movie, so I still counted it. Just, I was just like, whatever. I think that's because if we count, The Chronic, that was obviously all the way back in 2000. So this is 2015, Compton. That's when Dre dropped. That was the last time Dr. Dre dropped an album. So that is a long time, guys. We are talking about 8 years. Busta Rhymes, 2020. So 3 years ago, he dropped Extinction Level Event 2, The Wrath of God. 2020. Eminem, 2020. 3 years ago, Music to Be Murdered By. Eminem, I got a feeling, is going to drop an album this year. It's very clear, I think, with the new artists, all that. Lots of rumors of, Dre, even 50, and Snoop working in the studio. So that's probably going to come pretty soon. 50 Cent. That's probably my number one that I want to drop an album. 2014 was the last time he dropped a solo album titled Animal Ambition. I think on 50 Cent's end, I think he's scared of the sales because 50 Cent is always focused on sales. And if he doesn't do a lot in sales, I think that's why he's worried. I think that's the main reason. He did an interview with Men's Health recently and said the reason why he's not dropping a lot of music is because he wants to change his image and not make people so scared, because when he was dropping music, less companies would do business with him, which I disagree with. I think 50's just scared of album sales. He's not looking to change his image like that. I mean, he has changed his image, yes, but music isn't going to affect that, man. Look at Nas, all these artists dropping albums, talking all kinds of shit, and they're still doing, great. So 50 Cent was last time 2014, damn near 10 years ago. 10 years ago. You hear that, 50? 10 years ago. Anyways, Fat Joe, this was crazy. I was not expecting this, even though he's done collab albums. This was 2010 was the last time Fat Joe dropped an album. It was The Dark Side Volume 1. Damn, that's a long time ago. 13 years, damn near 14 years ago. E40. When is E40? 2019 was the last time he dropped an album, so we're talking about four years ago. Practice makes paper, but he has an upcoming 2023 album coming. That's what he said, so we'll be probably on the lookout for that. Jay-Z, last time he dropped a solo album was 2017 with 444. That is also a long time ago, 6 years ago. When I started YouTube, that was my first viral video on YouTube when I was doing commentary. That's the fucking ironic thing about it. So basically when I started YouTube was the last time Jay-Z dropped an album. So 2017, long time ago. Ja Rule, 2012, Pain is Love 2. We're talking over 11 years ago was the last time Ja Rule dropped an album. So that is a long time. Drop an album, Ja Rule. Lil Wayne, 2020. That's not too bad. Like I said, Eminem got 2020. Busta Rhymes, 2020. He dropped Funeral in 2020. So I'm sure we're going to get something from Lil Wayne pretty soon here. But that is 3 years is fairly long, man. Nas has been consistent, dropping albums year after year and sometimes twice in 1 year. So T.I., last time he dropped an album was 2020 as well with the Libra. So he's due for an album as well. Ludacris, this is somebody I really, really want an album from. Ludacris is super underrated. I miss his music. Last time he dropped an album was 2015 with Ludaversal. That is disgusting. So Luda, drop an album. It's been a long, long time. Luda, everybody come up with bangers. Throwing up my middle fingers. Yeah, I love Ludacris. Talib Kweli, last time he dropped an album, 2017 with Radio Silence. Long time, long time. What were we looking at? What? 7 years, 7 years. So, long time. Mos Def, last time he dropped an album, 2019. 4 years ago. That's also a long time. We need a new Mos Def album. Rick Ross, last time he dropped an album, 2021. So it's been about 2 years. That's not too bad. Richer than I ever been. But, I want an album from him as well. Chameleonaire. Now, this, I know a lot of people are like, why'd you add Chameleonaire in here? I love Chameleonaire. I think he's one of my favorite artists, period. Great mixtapes, great albums. Last time he dropped an album, 2007, Ultimate Victory. He was scheduled to do that Venom album, but ultimately had label issues, never came out. But Chameleonaire, I invite you, drop an album. I know you're focused on the tech world, but please, it's been fucking, I don't know how long, 2007, 2017, 10 years, 2027, it'll be 20 years, I think, 14, 15 years, something like that, I don't even know, some shit like that, yeah. Longer than that, I'm tripping, I think 17 years, something like that, 17 years, been like 17 years, man, damn, last time you drop an album, about to be an adult, so come on, man. Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones. Last time he dropped an album, 2009, The Voice. I need an album from Mike Jones. You're supposed to schedule something coming up, but, Nelly. Last time he dropped an album, 2021 with Heartland, but it was very short. It's more like an EP. I think it had like 9 tracks on there, maybe 10, if that. But yeah, Nelly. Now you got Nelly Choppa making dog shit versions of your songs. Please drop an album so you stop that. Fabulous, someone who I really love, really, really love. I love his Soul Tape mixtape series. I love Loso's Way album. I love a lot of his stuff, man. We haven't gotten an album from him for a minute. Last time he dropped was 2019 with Summertime Shootout 3. Yes, that was an album. He had Summertime Shootout 1 and 2 as mixtapes, but that one was considered an album. But 2019, over 4 years ago. Come on, man. Jadakiss, last time he dropped, 2020. That is 3 years ago, which is not too bad, but we need Jadakiss. Cameron, last time he dropped was 2019 with Purple Haze 2. Long time ago, man. Jeezy, last time he dropped, 2020 with The Recession 2. Yes, it did not do as well or follow up with The Recession 1, like how great that album was, but still, I would like to hear more Jeezy music. Ice Cube, last time he dropped, 2018 with Everything's Corrupt. But yeah, that's pretty much the list. A lot of artists were in groups. A lot of artists obviously have passed away. Some artists have, quote unquote, quit or done, retired. Like Scarface, he said he's done, but I would love a Scarface album. There's a lot more, that left off the list, but a lot of these are like 2000s, some are the 90s that I would enjoy albums from that I would check out and listen to. In my opinion, I think I think a lot of people will be like, oh, who's checking for this guy? Who's checking for this? Man, just like, I think creativity, man. That's what I like about Nas. He's not too concerned about album sales and shit like that. He's rich enough. He shouldn't have to worry about that, and he doesn't worry about that, Like, none of these artists have to worry about album sales. Majority of these artists on this list are still rich, doing perfectly fine. You would think Chameleonaire's broke because he hasn't dropped an album since 2007. But no, the guy sold an app for $400 million. He is more than well off than most of these artists on this list. So, yeah, I need these artists to drop albums. That's what prompted me to check out, who's dropped, who hasn't in a minute. I think, the most out of this list, obviously, you guys know who I would want is 50 Cent to drop. But I also wouldn't mind a Ja Rule. Jay-Z hasn't dropped in a minute. Obviously, Chameleonaire, Mike Jones, Fabulous is somebody that I really love. Ice Cube as well. But there are some artists that have been consistent. Snoop Dogg, he's been dropping consistently. Last time he dropped an album, I think it was in 2021, 2022. So, there are some artists that are in the old school that are still consistently dropping. And, they deserve to get props. Not Nelly, but Nas is talking about, being more consistent. That's the problem. A lot of these artists, they might have dropped recently. 2022 was actually the last time he dropped. They might drop more recently, but they don't drop consistently. So, I understand it takes time to make an album, but I feel like I said, the time it should take to drop an album for me on average, I'm fine with waiting 2 to 3 years. I'm perfectly fine with that. If that's what you need, gap-wise, time-wise, to drop an album, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't need an album every single year. I don't need an album every single 6 months like Drake does, to the point where you get tired of hearing the artist. I do feel like we have to miss you a little bit, and then when you drop, it's interesting. Like Eminem, he drops every 3-4 years, and that's cool. I enjoy that. But yeah, I think dropping every year would be a little bit too much for me personally. But I know some people wouldn't mind. I think they'd be like, oh, I'm here for it. So shout out to Nas, man, for urging these artists to do that. He is the perfect person to speak on this because he is doing it, leading by example. Also, the thing is too, is I feel like these artists have to find somebody that they work really well with. Nas got that chemistry with Hit Boy. They found something that works, and clearly it's been delivering every single time. So that's another thing, man. I think a lot of these artists don't know what direction creatively they want to go to. So that's why we haven't gotten a project from them in a minute, because it's hard to, get your feet wet back into the stuff, especially if you haven't done it in a minute. So, but then there are some artists that have connections that could get literally anybody they want, man. Some of these artists are top tier. You don't think Jay-Z can get whatever he wants in terms of music? Call up anybody and they'll be like, yes, I'll work with you. Who else? 50 can do that. Busta Rhymes, T.I., Ludacris, Wayne. A lot of these artists can just do that, man. They can call up anybody they want and get what they want. So I think a lot of these artists should explore releasing music again. I think they should find that sound that they feel like is dope for them. Not follow trends, but just what they like to release. And I'm all for listening for it, man. Shit, I'll do live streams. If they all dropped, I'll do live streams for every single one of these guys. But yeah, let's talk about